Hey, I just want to say thank you for being part of the New Jersey Business Podcast community. It is you that gives the likes, comments, shares that has enabled us to grow this podcast. And this is only the beginning. We have big plans to scale this podcast in terms of the type of guests we're going to have, in terms of the topics that we're going to cover, and more importantly, the value that we're going to bring to you. So again, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the New Jersey Business Podcast team. And I want to ask you just one favor. Wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, please subscribe. Thank you.
The New Jersey Business Podcast highlights and supports local business and business owners just like you. We interview New Jersey's finest people, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You'll get tons of value from local business people as they share about their journey and secrets to success. If you like what you hear, want to support us, and make sure you are getting more of the good stuff, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast today. You are listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast with your friend, host, all-around good guy, Paul Valverde. Now, on to the show.
What's shaking, New Jersey? Welcome to another episode of the New Jersey Business Podcast. Today, I am at the Legacy Lab with Juan Millan, a good friend of mine and also the owner of this place, along with his sister, Roxy. Juan, thank you very much for joining me today. It's actually your second time in the podcast, this time in person.
In person, yeah.
And it's awesome to be able to spend some time with you. So welcome to the show, Juan.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. Again, second time, this time in face-to-face, and it feels good. It feels good to be back. You know, I know you're going to ask some great questions. I'm excited about this.
So, Juan, one thing that I love to do is to ask people to share something about themselves that will help me understand who they are now. In other words, tell me something. It could be more than one thing, and you could take me as far as you want into your childhood. That will help me understand why you are the way you are and who you are today.
So I would say I'm a person who's chasing greatness by becoming the best version of myself, not in just like the fitness industry, but also in all areas, you know, family, friends, spiritual, all this stuff. I'm doing this because when I was young, I really never had a mentor or a friend or somebody that told me, hey, here's the way to become fulfilled. Not just great, but somebody's happy about their life and what they do every single day. Never really had that type of guidance. So when I asked myself, what am I here to do? What's my purpose? My purpose is to help others be happy with themselves by applying simple principles that I've learned through, personal development books, myself, trial and error, all these things that, I'm trying to do, become the best version of myself and help others do that too.
At what age will you say that you realized that you wanted to improve yourself, or you started working towards improving yourself?
I would say sophomore year in college. That's when I really felt, lost. I felt like, I was just doing what everyone else was doing. I was going to school, sitting in class, just trying to kill time, seeing if I could skip class. I knew I was in the wrong place not the wrong place, but I didn't know that wasn't for me when I used to wake up. I'm an early person, I love waking up early, and it would be like 7 o'clock classes, and I wake up like at 6 o'clock, and I'm like, go back to sleep. So I could just miss the first class. And that's when I really wasn't happy with myself. I felt like I was lost. So I started looking for answers. And then that's when I started taking action and did things that I never did before, like read, surround myself with like other people that had goals and stuff like that. So sophomore year in college.
So up to that point, up to your sophomore year in college, what were you say? Were you in kind of in cruise control? Were you just following the advices or the opinions of others? Like, how do you get to sophomore year of college?
Just doing the minimum, in high school. I was, copying of people. I was getting good grades because the classes that I enjoyed, I actually, was able to study and enjoy my, the whole like learning process. But then, the classes I didn't enjoy, I would get by just, copying of somebody, and then just having fun, like going out with my friends, playing sports. Soccer player majority of my life. So like doing that and just, working. I started working at a young age, making some money, but I thought that was it, just working, playing soccer, soccer, going out with my friends, and just getting by. And then now, after a while, I wanted more. Something like that little voice that comes to you and started asking me, what do you really want? And then, seeing my mom and all that stuff, so wanted me to like grow and step out of the comfort zone.
I know from previous conversations, your mom is a big influence for you and a big inspiration as well. During that period that you felt lost, tell me exactly what you were feeling during that season.
During that season, I would, like I was working as a server during that like season, I used to call it, and I just felt like there was no like drive. I'm a person that has drive, and when I'll go to work, there was like, okay, I don't want to be here. I did it once, just felt lost, like the whole time, I was doing it just to do it. And then, I kept asking my questions. And then during that phase, I was like expecting somebody to come save me. I'm like, oh, I know someone's going to knock on my door and be like, you come with me. I was ready for that day, but like, that doesn't happen. So, but even just thinking like that, I'm like, why am I looking for that? That's when I really was like, okay, this is not me. And that's really how I felt.
I love the fact that you say that was not me. You say I'm a person who's driven. And at that moment, I wasn't feeling driven because you realized that wasn't you. You were clear what your identity was, and you knew that you weren't living within your identity. And I think oftentimes people let their circumstances dictate their identity. So, for example, if they are in a situation like the one you were in, they will actually feel like that's who they are. What was it that made it different for you? That you knew that wasn't you, even though you were in those circumstances?
Well, like you talk about my mom being my number one, my inspiration, my purpose. That's why I live, to help my mom become, just get back what she gave, to me. And during those times when I felt lost, the one person I kept thinking about, my mom. How can I retire her? Because as a goal, I saw her working, 2 or 3 jobs, suffering, like, how we Latinos are, just hard workers. And I just like, okay, what can I do to really get her out of there? And that's when I started asking more questions about like money. And I was like, okay, if I'm going this route, this isn't really going to provide enough money to get my mom out of there. And then that's when it hit me in the face. I was like, I took down, said, I started doing some research. Nope, this is minimum wage. You get this. How am I going to retire mom? So that's when I was like, okay, gotta do something different. Because that she's like, even just having her in the back of my mind gave me those answers. Because, I would never have thought like, oh yeah, how much money I'm gonna make. I was just going to school just to, hey, I'll get the degree and I'll worry about how much I'll make. But then when I started thinking those bigger like thoughts, it was like, that's when it was like eye-opening. That's like a paradigm shift.
Yeah. I want to go back a little to what you said about that you had this idea that maybe opportunity will knock at your door. Somebody was going to offer you something that, that somebody may, and what I gather from you, correct me if I'm wrong, is something along the lines, somebody's going to know my true potential and is going to offer me a great opportunity that is just going to unlock everything for me. I want you to go back to that a little, because I actually heard that from quite a few people. And I think at one point, I felt the same way myself. So I'd like to know more about, like, was that like daydreaming? What were the thoughts that were going through your head? Like, what were you thinking? What do you think that could potentially happen?
Well, what I kept seeing, like, when it came to like that thought, it was like someone with a perfect job, I would say, something with a career, and that's going to produce enough money to get my mom retired. And that's where I was like, someone that was going to come, I don't know what was going to give me that, but I just kept thinking, I'm like, it's going to happen. And, my mom was always taught us be positive, attract, things. And we'll probably talk about this story later, but and I was trying to attract that. I'm like, if I think about it enough, maybe that does happen. And in a sense, it did kind of happen because I found myself, I found my purpose, and that was the person that was going to knock on my door, my true potential. And I guess it did happen, but not the way I saw it. I really couldn't visualize like that person and like see, but that's like, just I wanted to get that career, that job that was going to give me enough money.
So you're at that place where you feel lost, where you feel that the circumstances around you do not represent your true identity, and you desire a change. Talk to me about that step that you took, that first step that initiated that change. What was it what was like that ripple effect that then brought about a series of other changes in your life?
So that was when I was hanging out with one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, I read this book, Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill," and he was like, "You should read it too." And I'm like, at that point, he wasn't even telling me; he was telling one of my other friends we were hanging out with, and I'm like, okay, like, I didn't pay nothing, I didn't care. But then that same day, my fiance, she was like, "Let's go to Barnes and Noble," and I'm like, all right, I'll go with you but then in that moment when I walked into Barnes and Noble, I'm like, what was the name of that book? Like, it just started clicking, and I'm like, maybe I'll buy it. And again, I just wanted to see something different, so I knew how to take different like actions. So I bought the book, and of course, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna read the whole book. I never read it in high school. Like I told you, like I just get by, I'll read a couple of chapters just to answer the questions, and that was it. And then I started reading, and then like this was like information that I was looking for. Then, start reading one chapter, because I could only probably I think I read like in a book or something like that. Somewhere it was like start with 10 pages a day. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll build on that. So I started building on that. And then I started to get chapters a day. And then I just got to the point that I was like, this is what I needed. Like those answers are right there, simple thing, common sense, but nobody in like my friends or my family never really said, hey, ask me these questions that the book was asking me. And that's when it was like, okay, boom, just read it. And I just like, that's the one thing I always say, like I became obsessed with becoming the best version of myself. Like it was times I was spent on YouTube. I remember there was this Bob Proctor video. It was like 3 hours, and I'm there just YouTube, and I'm like, I never thought I would do something like that but it was just so like that obsession of just trying to become better. It was there, and that's why like when I look back in the next phase, it's just, you gotta become obsessed if you really want to see like life changing results.
Yeah,
and that's what happened. So I started reading books, and then books led me to seminars. And then from there, like networking events. Networking events, seminars, and, personal development books.
So when this change is taking place in your life, circumstances is still the same. They don't change overnight, right? Mm-hmm. But you start feeling different.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you start seeing your circumstances begin to change?
The perspective I was able to build with the books, like, if there's like they always say that the coin, you flip the coin, there's a heads and tails. There's always two sides of things. You could either sit in them, like in the edge of the coin, and then look which side you want to go. And that was me. When I read that in a book, I'm like, okay, I could choose. I either go to a negative side or I go to a positive side. And then, through the books, it helped me develop that perspective that I'm like, okay, like, I know this is bad right now, but I'm healthy. So I know I could get through this. And same thing, replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And that's where I really just kept applying. And then it helped me because, like I said, my mom always taught me to be positive. And I never doubt myself because I never doubted myself. But yeah, so like just applying these skills that you develop, that you learn through the books.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the circumstances were still the same, but because your perspective changed, you didn't feel lost anymore. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying that now you had a focus, and your focus was to become the best version of yourself. So, and I think that's interesting, and that's important for everyone to hear, is that your circumstances don't have to change for you to be a better version of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You start working on yourself first, and then the consequence of that is that over time your circumstances begin changing as well. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Will you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jim Rohn or someone says like, life doesn't get easier, you just get better. That's what it's about. Like life is always gonna hit you. That's what life is, and it's part of it. But if you prepare for it by knowing what you bring to the table, your mentality, all that stuff, then that'll help you. That perspective, and like it doesn't change. Everyone goes through bunch of obstacles in life. It's just knowing that what are you in control of? I always ask myself that question. What are you in control of? And that's my thoughts, how I attack things, not like, okay, if my car breaks down, I wasn't in control of that, but okay, do I just freak out, or do I calm down, call some help, and then get it figured out when it's, time to figure things out? So stuff like that.
Talk to me about the people around your life when you were going through this change, where you were beginning this journey of improving yourself. How did they react to this? Did the people around you change? Did it remain the same?
So as well as you told, Roxana's, my left side, because that's a strong side. And she just was the number one supporter. No matter what I decided to do, if I wanted to do a seminar at the house and me, having a guest speaker, she was there supporting me. If I wanted to go to PA to listen to somebody, she'll be there with me. That's Rox, my mom, close family was supportive. Like, I would say my mom and Rox really were like always by my side during that whole phase, and they were supportive. On the other hand, I had friends that still supported me, but when I introduced them the whole personal development, develop these skills, like I was, when you're just on fire, I'm like, you gotta do this, and they're like, of course they get excited with you because they never heard somebody speak to them like that, so they're like, oh my God, yeah. And then what happens? They don't see the results, or they're not consistent with their actions, so they're like, oh, that was cool, but whatever, it died down. And it was like, I would help them, because I care about my friends, but, they respect my decisions, but it wasn't like 100% supportive, like, yeah, I'll go wherever you go, like, type. But, and again, it's okay, everyone has but then one thing through that whole thing was like, I learned to accept that everyone has different purpose in life. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest thing that took me to learn, because the first year as I was growing, I was exploding, I'm like, why isn't everyone doing this? Why it's so like common sense, like look, and people are just not about it. And it used to hurt me so much. I'm like, why people don't see this? And then one day I decided, everyone's here to do different things in life. No one has to, same thing as when I'm a coach, people come in here and they want to be healthy. They don't have to be ripped and, bodybuilder or like, power lifter, whatever it is. Like, everyone has their different goals. So once I was able to finally accept that thought, I was like, all right, life got easier.
So your circumstances begin to change over time, but they don't change immediately, right? Mm-hmm. But your mindset changed, your focus changed. So that means that things didn't get great or get better for you right after that year where you started this journey. Mm-hmm. You still had challenges. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about those challenging times and how they tested you.
Those challenges, I would say one of the biggest challenges was like self-doubt. Like I told you, I never doubted myself, but when I started like kind of like the whole personal development, going to seminars, because I also did network marketing. That's the one thing that like, people talk bad about it because there are some companies that, whatever, like it happens, but that gave me a tough skin because it was sales. So, when you try to sell your product or yourself, which is, because basically that's what you're doing, you're trying to sell yourself, it's like people are going to say yes, people are going to say no. I never was thought like, okay, how do you deal with rejection? So it was like, okay, I was going out there and experiencing that, oh, thank you. And then they'll leave and then never talk to them or just ghost me and stuff like that. And it was like the obstacles of like people doubting me, people were trying to like bring me down. And then from there it was like, but I also had a team that had the same dreams and goals as myself. So it was like, once I felt defeated, I know I had them. So I'll talk to them and they'll encourage me. They'll bring me back to my feet. So I'm like, okay, that's what really helped me just keep fighting. When it came to the obstacle, another obstacle, I would say it was definitely like, feeling like, I guess like you plateau in a sense, there wasn't no result. It was like, okay, I'm doing all this, but where's the result? Where's the result? I'm doing this, what people are telling me, where's the result? And it's just the gratification, I didn't know about these things. It was just like, okay, just keep nourishing the seed that you planted, keep nourishing. And it was, for me, it was like, why? Because, then you start reading another skill that developed, delayed gratification. It's like, we're just thought like, well, this whole, we're just, okay, everything's fast now. You have no commercials. You got the microwave back then, like, what is the air fryer now? Like, everything is this. So, that's what we want. But then once I was like, okay, let me actually give it some time. And then it kind of like started sinking in, as common sense. Like, no one's going to become successful in a month or in 6 months or even a year. You have to, in network marketing or in business in general, like I'm a business owner, 2 to 5 years. You got to give yourself 2 to 5 years to really see like what you're about. Yeah. If you're doing it for a month, 3 months, and you don't see a result and you're like, oh, this, that ain't gonna work. Life is not like that. That's why also when I accepted that, okay, let me give it 2 to 5 years to see what I'm about. And of course, I didn't finish the route of network marketing, but it did help me like branch out and become my own business owner.
Yeah.
So big ups to that because it helped me be a tough person, and just principles that I learned through that.
Yeah. Dealing with rejection is very difficult. It takes a special kind of individual to be able to take rejection after rejection and not let that, take a toll. And for other people, it's having that support group, that community, which is something that I like to talk about also during this episode about the community that you've created. And as well is, how long would you say is since you started this journey of personal development or working on the best version of yourself? How many years?
So that was sophomore year of college. That's probably like around probably like 6-7 years.
So a good 7 years in this trajectory, and looking back, right? Are you able to appreciate the growth? Are you able to see the difference, the positive impact that it has had in you?
You know it, yeah, man. I mean, I'm just happy with my life, and like you said, it's 6-7 years that I've been working on myself. And of course, the first couple of years, like you said, the obstacles and all that stuff. But now where I am today, I'm like, of course, I'm not there, like where I'm even closer where I want to be, but just when I take a step back and like, just, hey, I'm happy. My heart is happy. I could die right now and hey, take me. Of course I wouldn't want, but like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm happy about that. Yeah.
You're living a purpose-driven life. You feel fulfilled.
Yes, sir.
At what point does fitness come into the picture?
At what point? Every single day for me. Like, in a sense, like even like, we're doing the walks, like just having just the exercise, the movement, but yeah. I guess fitness came really, I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but like when I was, I was chubby majority of my like childhood until I was probably like a freshman. I started losing weight because of soccer and, not really watching what I ate, but and then my mom, she was going to the gym since Colombia. She used to have a little boutique in her gym, and I used to go there, sit in the cafeteria, and she'll do her thing. I used to just watch all these people. And I'm like, yeah, people are exercising. And I was always a chubby guy, and then like, cause I love McDonald's back then. And whatever, all this stuff happened. And then she came to the United States. We came in and she was still going to the gym. And then in high school, that's when I was like, I had a friend in 8th grade. He was pretty built. And I was like, yeah, that would be nice to be like that. I was chubby, and I'm like, that would be nice to be like him. And then when I got to high school, my friends started getting to the gym and it started getting bigger. And then I was still not about the gym, but then I knew my mom was always going. So then I started kind of like testing the waters. I'm like, let me go. And then, I did it the first 2 years. I was only doing arms and chest. I'm like, I don't care about anything else because I was a soccer player. So I thought I had big legs, big back. And I'm like, I was just a big guy, like a chubby guy. So like I kept that. And then I started kind of like really see the transformation in my body. And at first it was all about the body. I didn't really care about the mental. I'm like, I look good. I feel good. My confidence grew, and I was feeling good, high school. And then you experience all these things. And I was like, okay, getting attention. And after that, like, after you're done with high school, you go to college, and, no one really is watching you anymore. So I'm like, and then kind of like I was able to, I guess the distractions weren't there as much as like me trying to feel like look good for other people, that I started looking good and feeling good for myself. And then that's when I really started like, okay. But then until like, then I got certified because people kept asking me, what did you do? Because it's so much transformation from like being a chubby kid to like now having muscles and stuff.
Do you get certified during college, after college?
So it was actually when that whole like mindset changed. Yeah. I told my mom, like, I'm not doing school no more. And she was like, what do you mean? You have to finish school. And I'm like, it's not for me. And this is a hard, conversation to have with her parent because, she went to, I guess, some type of college in Colombia, but like our family wasn't really not like school. So she's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you going to do then? I was like, I want to be certified and become a trainer. That was like my way to get out of school. Yeah. And she was like, okay, if you get certified, then I'll let you, she accepted it. And it was like, again, that's why I love my mom, because she she believes in me, and like she never really like. Of course, she asked the question that the parents should ask, but it's never like she doubted me or like, you know. So she's like, okay, get certified. I got certified, and that was sophomore year in college. Yeah, that's when I was like, okay, school certification. I do the same thing, so being certified. So that's when I started, you know, the first year of like being a coach. I would say trainer, because back then I was definitely a trainer, not a coach. Yeah. I was more focused on the training, just killing somebody, getting nutrition, whatever, blah, blah. And then, yeah, when I will, also because I became an independent trainer right from the start. I didn't, like that one thing I told you, like, yeah. I guess everything started lining up because when I was reading about entrepreneurship and like, you know, all these skills, I'm like, I can't go apply this on my own for other people because they're going to tell me this is what's required in this field. You can't do whatever you're learning. You got to do what I'm teaching you. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then again, blessings. I went to a gym in Whippany that is now closed. But they had the independent thing, like the, you know, independent trainer. And I'm like, should I just do it? I was like, whatever. I did it. I started paying like per client. I had to start with 2. And then little by little started building like that community. And from there, you know, 5, about to be 6 years this year that I'm being, you know, a trainer.
At the beginning, financially, was training alone able to sustain you, or do you have to complement your income?
No, so that's when I was a server up in Mendham. So it was good money. I was able to like make good money and come home. But also I didn't have the responsibilities. I was living at home, you know. I was paying some bills, but it wasn't like, you know, paying my car, like, you know, phone bill, stuff like that. And when I started doing the training, it was like part-time. So I would do some hours at the restaurant, and then from the restaurant, I'll go to the gym, train like 2 to 3 clients. And then as more people start asking, hey, when are you available? And, you know, that was my restaurant hours. So that's when I had to take a risk. That was my first like big risk, because I had, you know, now I had a car and I had some bills that, you know, all this stuff. And I'm okay, like, and that's when I started losing interest for the money, because I was making good money, like I said, as a server. But I used to hate going, like not hate, but I used to go in the restaurant. I'm like, okay, when is this over? Like, yeah. And then that's when I started getting people asking me like, oh, can you train me? Can you train me? And I'm like, I'm leaving the restaurant and starting, even if it's like 2 other clients, because I was like, know how to like take a financial hit. I was like, it's going to be worth it, because again, I'm not myself. I started losing myself. So I was like, okay, I took the risk. I started just training, like being a trainer. And then, yeah, blessed, people started, you know, coming to me, and I was able to have some success in that. Got more clients at word of mouth. Word of mouth is huge. And also leading by example. You know, people saw that I was doing what I was teaching people to do, you know. So it was like, okay, this guy is changing. I need to be where he's at. And that's why, you know, I am where I am today.
So you take that chance. Right. From day one, you are an entrepreneur, right? So when you go into the fitness industry, like meaning after you got certified, you're not working for anybody, you're working for yourself, right? Do you have the vision of eventually having a place? Do you see that far into the future, or at that moment you were just focusing on the near future?
I was definitely focusing in the near future. I would say I had some thoughts about it, but also the gym that I was at was like it was a private, like it wasn't this small, but it was like, you know, like pretty, like it was a commercial gym in a sense, but by private owner, you know? Yeah. And I still had that whole, like, the owner would let me borrow the keys. So I would do like after hours with people. I'll train on my own. So I kind of visualized it when I was training on my own, and the gym was closed and I was, you know, working out. And I'm like, this would be great to just have my own equipment. But I never really thought about like having my own gym, because it's a lot of responsibility, I thought, you know. Yeah. So I was like, you know what, I'm just focused on the clients. And from there, just kept growing and growing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Legacy Lab comes in the picture. Mm-hmm. I want you to share with me, what do you envision with Legacy Lab? Like, what was your dream? What were you trying to accomplish when you started putting this place together in your head?
A place that my sister and I could just create our environment, create our impact, not having to have limits when it comes to like, hey, I want to use a machine, or I gotta wait because someone's there, or this song is horrible, I need to change the song because it doesn't motivate me. Stuff like that, like little things like that. I was like, I really want to create my own environment, you know. And Roxanne and I talked about it, because she became a coach during that time, and she was like kind of having the same thoughts, like it'll be fun to just work together and having no limits, because also when you work at a gym, it's like how much growth. Okay, like I was fully booked, working, 10 or 12 hours a day. But then again, you hit that wall and it's like, okay, where's the growth at? And then it was like, I can't add more people because I don't have more bodies. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? And that's another thing, like being able to leverage this place and, have more impact on the community, not just like at the gym, but as a whole community. So that's what we really envisioned when we started putting this in our minds together, like something private, something safe for our clients, that they don't feel judged, that they feel they get the best out of their investment, because if you're going to invest money, I have to make sure I deliver. I can't be like promising all this stuff that it's private, that you're going to learn great things. And then they come here and it's packed with a bunch of coaches and stuff like that. Then it kind of ruins it. So like, just really focusing on the impact on our clients, having that type of impact on that's one of the visions that we had. So that's why we created the lab, yeah.
Talk to me about the community, because I know one of the things that I find most appealing and most attractive is that it's not just a gym where you work out. It's a lot more than that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I believe adds a ton of value is the sense of community. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about the community environment, the work that you and Roxy have done in creating this like-minded community.
Yeah, you said it, like-minded. So when people walk through that door and looking for change because they're like, they're tired of being tired, and so surrounding them with like-minded individuals, because that gives them that accountability, that support that most people don't have, that also we raise the standard here big time. So our community has a high standard for themselves and with each other, because we have those tough conversations that nobody really wants to have with people, because we care about them. Someone that really just shows care, not just like you feel it, they're here to really help you out. So as a community, we're building somebody, integrity, all these things like hard work, discipline, people that are trying to become the best version of themselves. And it's huge because, like I was telling you, if I have the community, like Rox, my sister, my network marketing team, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Because then all that, again, doubt. And then when you feel alone and all those thoughts are going through your mind, it's like, you're gonna feel defeated, because the person that's gonna feed you is yourself, your thoughts. So if you don't have those people that get you out of that rut, then it's gonna be hard. So that's why building this community is huge for us. And also it's a win-win situation, like the community is happy, I'm happy because they're all succeeding, they're all feeling good, the confidence is through the roof. So I just love the whole concept of building a strong community.
What's the feedback that you get from the people who are members of this community?
They love who we are, because we bring energy to the table, we bring value. Our slogan is physically strong, mentally unbreakable, because we're not here just to help you with your physical aspect, but also like your mentality, how the habits that you're applying on a daily basis, how are you thinking, what's your routines like, something that's different to them, that is like, okay, like this, people think different, and also how we're genuine we are, we just love what we do. So they see that, they're like, wow, these people really enjoy it. And that's the biggest thing is like, people enjoy who we are.
What percentage of your community would you say are business owners or entrepreneurs? Because I know there are some people who are in real estate, which are considered also entrepreneurs because they own their own thing.
I mean, myself, I would say at least like 60% entrepreneurs or own a business or stuff like that. Rox has a couple too. So I would say a good like 60 to 70% of our clients are definitely business owners.
And what do you see? What pattern are you able to identify in people who are business owners and fitness? For example, I've met quite a few people who are business owners and they are not physically fit, but the sometimes explanation they come up with is, I don't have time. Mm-hmm. I don't have time. Right? What can you say about that, or based on your experience or what you have seen?
So it's becoming aware. People that are business owners that come here, they're aware of how important their health is. If they really want to take things long term, like longevity wise, like if they're not healthy, they know they can't work. And as entrepreneurs, we know it's 24/7. Like, oh yeah, whatever I feel like it is that you wake up and you don't feel good, you're going to be behind because now you're trying to catch up. So they're aware of how important it is to be healthy. Also, mental health, we talked about is a huge thing because they use this as a distraction. A lot of male business owners that I train, they tell me all the time, hey, like I know they could train on their own, but they need that like distraction. They need to clear their minds. They need to just stop doing what they're doing and come here, and then we have some good conversations. Again, that's my job to just make sure that I encourage them and have these type of conversations that gets them distracted from the outside stuff. And that's definitely two things I would say. They're becoming aware of how important their health is and just the distractions and having that balance.
What's interesting is that sometimes when we're feeling stressed out, or we're feeling anxious, or we're feeling overwhelmed, right? We feel that we'll skip workout today because I have so much to do and right? But we don't realize that actually addressing our physical needs first, it just makes it so much easier on our mental needs. And like, I'll give you an example. I remember during our time training, not only were you on top of how many reps I did or my weight or my nutrition, but even my sleep. We talked about that. It was very holistic in the sense that, are you getting enough hours of sleep? And that's so important because our mind, it's our mind, even though our thoughts are not matter, it comes from matter. It comes from our physical being, right? So I love the fact that you take a very holistic approach in addressing those things, and that the feedback that you get from business owners who are doing it is that they feel better, they get the distraction that they need, and they have more energy.
Correct. Yeah. Also, like you said, those people that, I have other friends that are business owners that they don't invest in their health. It's like, I get where they come from because like, I go through those thoughts too. Like, I'm like, I got so much things to do. I shouldn't train. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I have to train because it's part of like me, like I have to, but then also, like you said, like once you're done, you're like, okay, at least I put an hour for myself, because even though this is my business, is, for other people, but the mental health, the aspect is like, I'm kind of like, and then making up an excuse because then it becomes a habit. If you keep running away from the workouts because you're busy, then that's always going to be your thought process when it comes to working out. So you got to make sure that you catch that thought. Okay, if it's something I need to work on, I don't care how I feel, I made a commitment. And then that's another thing that, these people, like, the business owners that come here, they need that commitment because they know they show up. They have to show up no matter how they feel. So that's another important thing about, being a good coach is like, holding them accountable, making sure they know how clear that commitment is. Yeah. Because if you make a commitment to see me 3 times a week, that's what's expected, and some people, and they show up, they show up, they come here tired. They're like, oh, well, today was a long day, but having that commitment is really what helps them just show up,
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be a person that just keeps canceling, because again, I'm not going to be working with that, but also, that's a bad rep that you're going to have. And, rep is something that I feel like a lot of people care about.
Yeah. When I went through a very difficult time in my life, I sought help, and I was seeing a therapist. And in our first session, I was in the first half of the session, actually, I wasn't really open. And then I opened up and I started sharing everything that was going on, what I was feeling. And she asked me, are you working out? Or are you doing exercise? And I said, yeah, actually. And she said, don't stop. I think if you are still sane, it's because you're doing that. So don't stop. You need that. And it seemed so interesting to me because I was there trying to address what I thought were, emotional things or mental things or whatnot, thoughts and the way I was feeling. But she emphasized how important it was to address the physical, right? And for that reason, I believe that what you do is so impactful, because by helping people improve from a physical and mental, in the physical and mental area of their life, you're helping them be better moms, better dads, better business owners, better husband, better wife, because they'll be in a better mood. Something that has happened to me is when I'm out of shape, I don't even feel like going out sometimes because my clothes don't fit right. So it's so important to address that. And I love the fact that your approach is not just being a trainer, but being a coach. So I want you to talk to me about the difference between the two.
The difference is the trainer focuses on, the training, like the exercises. He's not really there giving you he was some support, but not the emotional support. It's more like, support as in okay, you should do it this way, kind of give you the regimen, the guidance when it comes to the gym only. Coach for me is somebody that is helping you in all areas of your life. Somebody that really cares about you. Somebody that raises your standard and holds you accountable to not just deliver here, but outside of here. When it comes to, like you said, family, friends, jobs, stuff like that. So I feel like the difference, because like I told you at the beginning of my career, it was like that's who I was. I was just, here's your training regimen, follow it, I'll train you. But I never had these communications that I have with people now, or, kind of like giving that tough love that people need. So that's what makes the difference between a trainer and a coach. Yeah.
I like the fact that you actually care about your people, your community, that you take a special interest in getting to know them and trying to be more than just a trainer. I know you guys are constantly growing. I know in addition to the one-on-one training, you have the group classes. Can you talk to me about the group classes and the service that you offer there?
So the group classes, we started working on the group classes because we were, fully booked with one-on-one clients, and people kept reaching out, and we're like, we want to keep helping people, but we don't have enough bodies. And also, as you know, the space is limited, so we don't want to just pack people out, like I said, with coaches. So we decided to just build group classes, but we're going to keep it, we have a group class on Saturdays, which is high intensity class, which is 10 people, and it's two instructors, which is Rox and myself. And then we make sure that everyone's being looked at, because one thing, a common problem that we kept seeing was that when you have group classes, most people don't focus on form. They're like, okay, here's the stations, you go. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're free for all. And it's great, because but some people that are just getting started, they're going to get hurt. They're going to injure themselves. And we want it to be different. So a way to keep building our community and keep impacting people and teaching people the proper way to train is with group classes, because now we're able to have 6 to 10 people in a class and build on a community. And not everyone's the same from our Tuesday to Saturday class. Some people prefer the strength training than the high intensity training. So that's really what the purpose of the community class was, to build our community even stronger and to teach and to stand out in a way that is just focusing on form and strength training.
Yeah. I also know that you've added staff members or team members. Do you have plans for the near future to continue to add team members?
Team members, for sure. I mean, the goal is to have, I would say, another full-time coach here, maybe another part-time coach. But right now, looking for instructors. So that's going to be another thing of mine, looking for, growing the team, the staff, for sure. But that's not I'm not urgent to do that right now. It will come with time, but I will start looking for them soon.
Yeah. Have you reached the point where you feel that you need more space, or you feel that you still could do more growing within this space?
Oh, no, I got this space is plenty, because a lot of people ask me that, hey, are you going to expand? Because here I'm booked and Rox is booked, and it is a great idea, because that is definitely the goal in the future, to have more, equipment. That's why I really would like to expand. But right now, I know the potential of this place hasn't even been nearly retouched yet, not even touched a little bit. There's a lot of things that I want to do here before I even think about, because of responsibilities. It's not like, here, let me just take another loan. And when I first opened this place, I just gotta show you guys pictures of how it first was. I think I showed you.
Yeah.
And it was you have that vision in your head, but then when you start putting the money together, you're like, it's also it's a great thing to go through because it puts you against the wall. But now that I did it once, I'm definitely comfortable doing it again. But again, it takes a lot of time and money, and right now it's some limitations there.
I think that goes back to delayed gratification. You know what I mean? It would be very easy for someone who does not have the mindset of delayed gratification and who is just looking. Who wouldn't want a bigger place, more machines, more this, more that, but I think the approach that you're taking is until this place is not fully maximized, it does not make sense to make that move.
Correct.
I think that speaks to the wisdom that you have as a business owner, in addition to being a talented coach.
Appreciate that.
What would you say to them to perhaps encourage them to take action?
Action in what sense? Like action
to take care of their health.
Their health? I would say, if you have kids or you have family that you want to impact, the only way to impact them is by leading by example. People do what people see, not what you people tell them to do. So if you really want to make sure that your family's healthy, you have to be healthy. You can't just be, hey, you should be healthy and I'm eating McDonald's on the weekends or I'm not exercising, because people are not going to, follow you. So focus on yourself. Always put yourself first, because that's how you really impact other people. Focus on your mental health, your physical health, and make a commitment to somebody that will help you, push yourself outside the comfort zone. And know it's a bigger picture. It's not always about the gym and, health. It's about you applying principles that will help you become healthy in all areas. Like we talked about, discipline, sacrifice, consistency, commitment, these things that you could, apply at the gym and practice. And that way you could develop that habit or skill set to be able to, apply everywhere else. So, don't blame others, blame yourself. That's as simple as that, because you can't, that's it. I would tell them just to take action and never doubt yourself. And also for the people that are like older, I would, people say, it's too late. It's never too late, If you could change your whole mindset and physical body in a year, what's 1 year to the 40, 50 years of you digging yourself that hole? So it's never too late. Give yourself time. Be realistic with yourself. If it's 1 year, okay, put your head down for a year. Everything's still going to be the same in a year. Nothing changes. That pizza that you love to eat or that cheeseburger is always going to be there. That couch that you love sitting there is always going to be there. So kind of have that mentality of that it's never too late. Attack it. Give yourself time, patience, delayed gratification, and always put yourself first.
Yeah. I like that. Juan, so how many hours a week are you currently working?
How many hours are in a week? Because I can say it's literally
from sundown to sundown.
Yeah, lately, again, I'm getting married this year, so I have to make sure I deliver at home too. So when I come home, I have to make sure there's time for family too. So I would say that's not working hours, because I learned that this shouldn't be working hours through, a couple conversations, but it's I would say majority. I would say 80% of my week is working.
That's work.
Yeah.
What would you say, out of that 80%, right? How much of it is working in your business and how much is working on your business? Because being that you're in-person training, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that you're doing is you're doing it over and over. Mm-hmm. So how much would you say you dedicate
in my business? In my business, I would say about like training clients and stuff. That's about 50 hours, around 45 to 50 hours. Because I'm averaging right now 10 to 12 hours shifts. Yeah. So weekends I'm off. Saturdays I only work half days. Sundays I'm off, but I'm really doing follow-ups and stuff like that. On my business, I would say that's my breaks. So I would say in and out, in probably 70 on 30.
Yeah.
Which is what we talked about is my goal is to flip that,
Right.
So that's my goal. In the next couple of years, I definitely know I could do it. It's just sticking to the plan that Rox and I have.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, Before we finish up, I'd like you to talk a little about the dynamic that you and Rox have. Reason is you know what? Actually, I talk to people who say it's a horrible idea to work with family or to work with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talk to people who tell me there is no one better to work with except your family and your friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I realize it's just a matter of perspective, of the way they view things, they view the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have great relationships with their family and their friends, or there aren't any healthy boundaries. So yeah, for them it's horrible to do that. But for other people, what makes them successful is to work with people that will have their back no matter what, and vice versa, right? So I'm always interested to know about those dynamics, like you, brother and sister. What is the dynamic like? What are your strengths of that partnership, and what would you say are the areas that may need some work?
So just to take it back a little bit, you when you said like what makes us successful and stuff like that, and we talked when you first started working. One thing that stood out from you and that we talked a lot, it was values. It has to be clear values, because if people don't have clear values, then that common goal or something is not going to really work. So Rox and I have really clear, common values. So that's what helps us become successful in, what we're doing today, because, respect, being like humble, all these things that like we both are is like, well, that's what we're succeeding, and we have like that drive that we talk, that we just want things. Also, mom, again, she comes back because Rox knows how important mom is to us. So it's like, we're doing that for her. We're putting our head down for her. We work hard for her, because there's no one that works harder than my mom. I know that. So when I think I'm working hard, I know I ain't working hard. So just having that purpose, same purpose, having some, common values, respecting each other, stuff like that. And that really helps us be like, of course, there's going to be like, the thing is like when we're siblings, some things like tone of voice, and I'm like, but also that helped us like, since we're developing skills and how to communicate with each other and stuff like that. It's not like we just both opened this business and never worked on each other. Like we consistently are working on each other. So the first year, of course, there was arguments even here. Like, I'm like, what? Like, this is horrible, but then that's the first year. So now this second year, like, we know how to deal with each other. We know how to, okay, she's in a bad mood, or I'm in a bad mood, or, blah, blah, blah. Hey, give some room and stuff like that. So we're able to develop that as time went by, and also as developing the skills. So I feel like people could be successful if it's family or not family, but also people, that say, they don't like to pair with families because that's what they're missing. Like maybe those things that I said,
Yeah, I think you hit it right on, because even if you're blood related, but you're not a core value match, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And even if you're not blood related, but you're a core value match, you have a higher likelihood to succeed. And a partnership, some people say a partnership is even more important than who you choose to be married to, or whatever. I'm not saying that. Some people say that. But the thing is, like, it's true, because, you're making decisions that impact your life, the way you are in the living and everything else. And those things have to be aligned. So I think it's awesome. The image that you project, it's a very unified front. The image that you project is a very unified front. And I think, and there's also a lot of love that is projected, which I think is very appealing. You two are a community, because you guys are family and you guys are united. And so then the people that comes around you just kind of joins that nucleus of community, which I think is great. Before we close our time together, is there anything that you would like to add, to emphasize, anything that you would like to say?
No, just thank you for having me again. Always great questions, Paul. I mean, you're a great guy, man. I just want to keep seeing you succeed, because, you believed in me and I believe in you. So again, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, go to NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. That's NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. We can't wait to hear from you and your business. You can also visit our website to learn about sponsorship opportunities and how to qualify for a complimentary gift. Thanks again for listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast.